What's up, guys? It's Inside You, the College Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Xavier Audick, and we are here today to discuss the University of Maryland finally getting it right and getting rid of former head football coach DJ Durkin. Now, remember, this whole thing started with the loss of University of Maryland offensive lineman Jordan McNair. Following McNair's death, there was an ESPN article that came out that just said that basically the University of Maryland was going about the same objectives that you're going to find with every Division I football program, but they were doing it in the most obscene, barbaric, and just outrageous manners. That resulted in the resignation of former strength coach Rick Court, but since then we've kind of been in this holding pattern as the University of Maryland and then the University of Maryland system got done with their internal independent investigations. The news of that has come out and it's been kind of mixed reviews, but following DJ Durkin's meeting with the University System of Maryland's board and impressing them, he was announced as having been reinstated as head football coach. Furthermore, Damon Evans, the University of Maryland Athletic Director, was reinstated, as well as School President Wallace D. Now, the one caveat being that Lowe announced that he would retire in this coming June. So, obviously, that news was met with a lot of skepticism and a lot of outrage. There had been two protests planned, one by the University of Maryland students and a second one prior to Maryland's football game against Michigan State this weekend, a game where DJ Durkin would have been coaching the Terrapins. However, following President Lowe's meeting with a number of school officials, a number of students, and probably a number of local politicians, the University of Maryland has decided to part ways with head coach DJ Durkin. Now, a couple of things I wanted to point out, which I mentioned in my podcast, is that basically why DJ Durkin wasn't held accountable was because of rumored dysfunction in the athletic department, but it was very unclear what they actually meant by dysfunction. Dysfunction is kind of a nice throw-up word that you can throw up, which sounds big and it sounds interesting. And it's kind of like, oh, well, it wasn't his fault because things weren't organized. But at the same time, there appears to have been a lack of specific reasoning for why there was dysfunction or whose fault was it. Remember, Damon Evans, prior to being named athletic director, was interim athletic director of the University of Maryland for a significant period of time. Furthermore, in his previous time serving at the University of Maryland, he had been the school's football liaison to the football program. So for him to retain his role was a bit of suspect to me, but then for Durkin to also retain his job was even more suspect. Now, what we have to remember, and this has been brushed up, is that the only person that the University System of Maryland could actually fire was School President Wallace D. And it was announced, or rumored at least, that the school would only allow Lowe to be retained as president if he were to agree to bring back Durkin. However, since then, whether it be Lowe on his own or just due to the backlash that came with the announcement of DJ Durkin being reinstated, the school has decided to part ways. In my mind, this is probably solely due to Wallace D. Lowe himself taking a stand and saying, basically, this guy has to go and I'm willing to lose my job for it. So I want to commend School President Wallace D. Lowe. However, at the same time, I do think that more needs to be done regarding Athletic Director Damon Evans. Like I said, he should not get a pass on this. He was very involved with this. And if there was dysfunction, then why shouldn't the guy whose job was to monitor the football program be in trouble? I don't know exactly what type of punishment. Obviously, looking at some of the more recent scandals with Ohio State, their Athletic Director Gene Simmons was given a suspension. Probably that's the route that I would go. But just most importantly, want to thank Wallace D. Lowe for appearing to being willing to sacrifice his job for the right thing to finally have been done. DJ Durkin should not be coaching college football, at least for the foreseeable future. So, what do you guys think? Did the University of Maryland finally make the right move? Do you think Damon Evans should be caught up in this whole whirlwind and punished? Or do you think we just move on here and go back to business as usual? Inside You, the College Sports Podcast, I'm your host, Xavier J, signing out. Bye.